And welcome to I Protest. This is Donald Jeffries coming to you from just outside the swamp-infested Washington, D.C., as I do every Friday at this time. But a very special guest today. I'm honored to have Michael Rechtenwald here, who's been on a lot bigger shows than this one. So I'm very flattered that he consented to come on my. He's the author of 14 books, including The Great Reset and the Struggle for Liberty, Thought Criminal, a novel, Google Archipelago, Springtime for Snowflakes, Social Justice and Its Postmodern Parentage, 19th Century British Seculars, a lot of great stuff. He's got a wonderful educational background, taught at Duke University. I mean, I'm a community college dropout, so this is very impressive stuff to me. And I discovered him through Substack, and he discovered me. So admire of his writing, great writer, and I'm just honored to have him on. Thanks for coming on the show, Michael.
It's my pleasure, Donald. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure too. And so I always ask people this question. I've never not been awake. I was a radical as a teenager, and so I never had a period where it was normal, and I didn't have an epiphany or anything. I was a rebellious elementary school student. I didn't like authority, and I kind of was always chomping at the bit and questioning rules. I'm wondering what it was like for you. I mean, you were an academic teaching at Duke University. I mean, were you radical at that point, or were you getting in trouble with the Duke University with that, or did you have an epiphany at some point?
Well, I think I've always been radical. At some points, I was radical on the wrong side. At one point, I was a full-fledged Marxist, pretty much far left. Believed that the capitalist structure had to be overthrown. That was the only way to get justice and equity and all that. I had an epiphany at NYU when they tried to destroy my career. When I came out against the social justice left and I was actually still a communist at this point, but the reaction I got from the left, and especially the faculty and the administration at NYU, it turned me into a libertarian overnight, really. And then as a libertarian, I'm pretty radical. I'm an anti-statist. I think the state is the biggest thief and killer that there is. I mean, without the state, you don't get these murderous wars, and you don't get this theft via taxation and all that. So I became an anarcho-capitalist, but my main thing is I hold, no matter what, is the non-aggression principle. And that is, I don't believe in any aggression against a person or their property. That's a violation. And that particular prong or philosophical principle will never leave me.
Sounds like turn the other cheek. Sounds a lot like turn the other cheek is what it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, it's very Christian, I think, at base. I do believe I am a Christian. I did have a conversion. I wasn't a Marxist in the classroom so much as, I didn't teach Marxism or something. But I was a scholar of 19th century science and culture, and ended up writing a lot about this movement called secularism in the 19th century.
Yeah.
And so I was a scholar of secularism, and then I did have an epiphany. I did have a come to Jesus moment, as it were. I had a Damascus moment when I would say what was happening at NYU. I had these social justice dervishes coming at me, and the administration coming down on me, and my girlfriend of 13 years sided with them. And my son then got stage 4 cancer. And at that point, I basically broke down and said to God, because I didn't know who else to say it to, what are you trying to do to me? Kill me? And I got answers right away, spoken to me, not audibly, I wasn't
Right.
hallucinating, but it was spoken to my heart and my mind that my son would be all right no matter what. You know, that was the main thing. He was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer on my birthday, and I thought, wow, this is a real triumvirate of horrors that I'm getting. And I just asked God, what was he trying to do? And he said that my son would be all right no matter what. And to me, that meant not just if he not that he would necessarily live, which he did, but that even if he didn't live, it would be all right. So that told me there's more to life than the material. There's more. I was a materialist. If not an atheist, I was more or less an agnostic. Um, and that's after having been in a Catholic seminary in high school. I went to a Catholic seminary when I was 14, lived there around pretty much year round with the Capuchin order, the Franciscan Capuchin order. And after I left there, I rebelled against Catholicism, against Christianity, against it all. And it took me from age 16 to, I would say, 57 to come back to faith. And so that's been a very big part of my story, is that I became a Jesus freak.
Yeah, that's what I remember that. So I talked about that thing. They were kind of lovable, humble, unlike the Christian evangelicals, who obviously are the problem now. Well, that's, and we're certainly glad to hear about your son. That must have been awful. And your girlfriend abandoning you obviously is nothing new here. I've had so many whistleblowers on my show, and it's amazing how many spouses, didn't support them and their families broke up. Sometimes their kids. I mean, it's shocking. They give up everything for that. You've experienced that obviously, but so now you're fully, in this world of the alt media. So what are your just impressions? I just wrote about it, but what are your impressions of this election, such as it was? I mean, assuming I always say, like, I don't think they're counting the votes, but let's hypothetically look at it like they are. So, what does this say about us, and how do you feel about Mom Dami? And he's an interesting background. His mother's a big Bollywood figure. Shockingly enough, they have these showbiz connections. So I don't take him at face value. I think he's probably controlled by Zionism. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he probably is, but the voters in New York probably didn't think so. And I think that some of the statements he made probably won him the election. For example, when he said he would arrest Netanyahu, should Netanyahu come to New York. And then when they asked during a debate, they said, where would you go first after winning? And everybody said Israel for some reason. I mean, this stuff is so nauseating. And then he said he would stay in New York and do the work he was.
Yeah, perfect answer, right? I mean, that was a perfect answer.
Yeah. So I think that's what won him the election. And whether he is really secretly a Zionist, I don't think. I doubt he's actually a Zionist, but I think he did take some money from some. And, I mean, his economic policies, I think, are ridiculous. I mean, they're totally backward. I mean, they would ruin the city. You can't, rent controls, price controls on food, maybe even government grocery stores, as he's referred to. I mean, these would kill the economy. It would create shortages. And, I put on my Austrian economics hat and say this guy would be a failure by far. But I think it was a referendum on Zionism, frankly, the whole election.
Yeah, oh yeah, and I would have. I mean, I know, regardless of anything else about him, just that question of the debate where he said, everyone said Israel, Israel, so as loud as they could, and he said, "Well, I would stay here in New York because it's the people I'm supposed to represent, the people in New York." And what better answer can you give than that? So I would have probably voted for him just because of that if I knew nothing else about it. Because
I would have too.
Yeah, Cuomo. You know what Cuomo is. Suddenly, I guess he's a hero to the right. I mean, but this guy has a history
Uh, the guy's, I
Curtis,
mean, he put grandma in, he killed grandma in the COVID era.
yes,
Uh,
he's like a mobster wannabe. I mean, it's
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah,
But so the idea that and Curtis Sliwa, I don't know where they got. I remember him from I guess the 80s or 90s when he was the Guardian Angels guy. I didn't know he
yeah,
was still around. So I'm not sure what he was running on.
yeah. I don't know. I have no idea what he was running on. I remember him from the Guardian Angel days as well. I don't know what his position is, and I would think he was more America first, or whatever. But
Right.
I don't know.
Probably a Law and Order, type of thing, which is Law and Order. It translates to more power for the police. But you
Yeah,
and I
that's
obviously,
right.
you're talking about the von Mises Institute, and Lou Rockwell publishes just about everything I write. So I'm just very, very grateful for that. And so obviously we're on the same page with that in terms of, and you mentioned being an anarcho-capitalist. I have a lot of people that were anarchists that have supported me, and I don't have any argument against them anymore. What is the argument against anarchy at this point? Because it's what authority is there that's worthy of our respect?
Exactly. What is the
Yeah,
state doing for us other than
nothing.
robbing us to kill other people in different countries? I
Yeah,
mean, that's what we're getting.
just
But
take,
in terms of the pack, which I'm sure we'll talk about, the ASAPAC, I don't really bring
yes.
that political philosophy to that. The only thing I bring to that from my political philosophy is the NAP, the non-aggression principle.
Well,
Otherwise,
talk about the ASAPAC again. What does it stand for? Tell the people about that. How you
it's
founded it.
the Anti-Zionist America Political Action Committee, ASAPAC. It's the first of its and only anti-Zionist organization in America.
Yeah.
And I think it's an organization whose time was long overdue. Actually, I think we have had, and I think you agree. I've read your writing, and you put it so much more eloquently than I do. I got to be honest. I should say in front of your audience, I'm jealous of you as a writer. But uh, the I don't bring that political philosophy to it. Our basic position is that the United States government has been hijacked by Zionism. It's in full control of the state, and we don't take a position on whether Israel should exist or not. This is not what we mean by anti-Zionism. We mean we are sick of the hijacking of the country and the control of the government by Zionists. And so that's all we're fighting against. We're not fighting against Israel or the Jews. Although we get accused of anti-Semitism, of course, if you do anything that's even mildly critical of Israel, you're an anti-Semite now. So whatever, Nazi as well, Nazi, anti-Semite, Jew hater, and all that. So I don't expect anything less than we will hear that kind of stuff, but we're not really about that. We're about, look, there's a lot of non-Jewish Zionists in there, very big in the government. Look at Lindsey Graham, look at Ted Cruz, look at Randy Fine. Look at all these, Tom Cotton. I mean, these people are just obsequious servility to Israel. It's stunning. I mean, you've seen it this since Bush. What's the difference? I guess since Trump took office,
Yeah.
it's been nothing but like Israel, Israel, Israel. I mean, that's all they talk about. That's how they do. It's insane.
Yeah. No, it really isn't. It kind of. I think, but I think that I get the sense. Mostly from October 7th and the response to that, because so much of this is even if people, there's lots of reason to question what exactly happened on October 7th, and whether
Yeah.
this was a legitimate terrorist attack or whatever. Hand gliding in on a concert, kind of a curious way to do it, but regardless, even if you accept everything at face value, the response has been so over the top, so heavy-handed, and still ongoing I think that whatever support Israel had anywhere in the world really is gone now, except amongst the Christian fundamentalists and, of course, the Jewish tribalists that are going to support them no matter what. But
Yeah,
I
excuse me.
sense a huge change in turn. You see it in the alt media, people that weren't talking about it. Tucker Carlson. You mentioned you were fortunate enough to be interviewed by him a couple times. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, even Joe Rogan. These people are mentioning it now.
Yeah, it's everywhere. This is like the thing of the day. I mean, this is really where we are. We're coming to a head. I think where we're saying, and I think a lot of the public American population is agreeing. This is ridiculous. I mean, this country is just under like a Zionist spell. It's not just the money. You know, it's not just APAC, although that is important. I think there's ideology involved, Christian Zionism for one, or Zionism in general. It's an ideology that really reorients a person's whole worldview. And I think fear is another factor that causes our political class to their supplication to Israel. I think they're afraid of these Zionist Jewish bankers, and these people have enormous power. I mean, look, they could destroy you in the drop of a hat. So I think that's a large part of it. But we've got people coming out now, people running for office that are saying we don't want anything to do with it. We want nothing to do with giving Israel money and performing everything for them on their behalf. And even like you've written about the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, what is it? I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
Is it law? That's a good question. You asked that in your piece once. You
Yeah.
asked, it seems to be a law, but it doesn't seem to apply yet or something. I don't know what it is, but it's not good. I mean, they want to curtail our speech.
Yeah. And this is the right's answer to the cancellation that's so popular on the left. The left wanted, and they I mean they even use the same terminology now. They've talked about domestic terrorists the exact same way Joe Biden talked about. I mean, and I don't understand, but I do think more and more people are seeing through it in the public. And you mentioned like people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who used to be a loyalist, is now more and more anti-Israel. Like Candace Owens, it sounds like David Duke half the time. And Thomas Massey is getting more and more radicalized. If he hope he holds his seat with Trump trying to get him out of there by primarying him. But
Yeah.
I don't know how much longer they can keep this facade up in terms of that, because the Republicans, everybody sees through now the Zionist power in the Republican Party, and everybody that's a Republican is not a Christian evangelist. So they don't understand. Well, why do I have to? I don't understand. Why do I have to be so supportive of Israel? I thought we were against foreign aid. I mean, you're saying the same thing, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. It's like, we're being extorted here. And then we're being extorted to commit atrocities against, crimes against humanity. And this is not pleasant. I don't like to be robbed so they could take my money to give it to Israel to kill people. I mean, that's really what's going on. I mean, they're just mass murderers. And I don't believe they have the same, I don't think they have what we'd call a moral system. They don't have what we would call moral principles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they have morals really at all. It's kind of like a bestial tribalism. It operates at a visceral level and not at the intellectual or ideational level at all.
Yeah, no, I think but yeah, so I was you need to write more on Substack. I was looking, you don't I mean I was thinking, I want to read more of this guy's stuff, and I noticed you had a piece on Brian Wilson dying, which is interesting. So I write a lot. One of my books is called On Borrowed Fame. It's about the showbiz, but because I'm interested in that world. Love Brian Wilson, love the Beach Boys, and you talked about Dylan. You talked about meeting Dylan when you were some kind of an aide or something to Allen Ginsberg.
I was an apprentice poet to Allen Ginsberg. Yeah, I've had a bit of a colorful life.
Yes, I'll say.
When I was 19, I went to Boulder, Colorado. I was a pre-med student in Pennsylvania in a small liberal arts college. called Allegheny College. I was a pre-med student, and I don't know, you could probably relate to this. I was doing very well in pre-med, but I found it boring. I wanted to write, and I liked ideas, and I loved writing. So I was like living a schizoid life. And then I came across Ginsberg's poetry, and I was extremely, like, it did something for me. It turned something on in my head, and so I started reading it voraciously. And before you know it, I found out through a friend that he was teaching, that he was actually teaching somewhere, and it was in Boulder, Colorado, at the Naropa Institute, this Buddhist. I mean, I write about this in Springtime for Snowflakes. It was a bizarre place. Okay. Yeah. And all kinds of like weird new age people, like this guy, one of my roommates there. We got an apartment together with a couple of people. This guy thought he could fly. He was a Carlos Castaneda aficionado.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember reading Castaneda. Yeah.
Yeah. He would go up to the mountains, and he claimed that he was flying from peak to peak. I mean, this is how weird people were out there. Anyway, I was an apprentice with Ginsberg, and so it was like a poetry apprenticeship. And I would like type his poems, and he would scream at me because I would break the lines, where I thought they should be broken, for enjambment and things like that. But he was like, "Oh no, it goes to the end all the way to the end," and so it was this. So anyway, but and once Dylan was coming to Boulder. He was coming to give a concert in Boulder. So I got to go with Ginsberg because Ginsberg was friends with him. And so we went backstage and met him. And now this was when Dylan, this is very fascinating, I think. Maybe you'll find it. So I don't know. Dylan
is one of my all-time favorites. I love Dylan.
Yeah. This was during his, well, I don't think it's a phase. Let's just say the period during which time he wrote 3 Christian albums, right?
Yeah, sure. You got to serve somebody, sure. Yeah.
Got to serve somebody. Well, that was called Slow Train
Coming. Yeah.
And then there was Saved, and then there was Oh Mercy. Those were the 3 Christian albums. Anyway, Ginsberg, we were, this was all, we knew all about this, and the whole like beatnik crowd was losing it over this. They hated the idea that Dylan was now a born again Christian. It drove them crazy. In fact, I had to open Alan's mail and gloss over it. I opened a letter from Ferlinghetti, Lawrence Ferlinghetti. In Ferlinghetti, it said, "I don't have to serve nobody."
I think Ferlinghetti just died a couple years ago. I think he did.
Yeah. Speaking of which, he was an anarchist, but one of these left anarchists. But so that was pretty nice. Yeah, I got to meet Bob. Bob Dylan said, so Ginsberg said, I thought Christ came to with mercy. I thought Christ was mercy, and Dylan said, yes, but he's still coming to judge.
Well, Dylan's a fascinating character, but and Ginsberg, I don't know that much about his poetry, but I was fascinated by Ezra Pound, more his life than his poetry. And Ginsberg worshipped Ezra Pound, even though Ezra Pound was considered this virulent anti-Semite. And when he met, you probably know this, when he met Ginsberg as an old man, he felt sheepish, and he kind of tried to apologize to Ginsberg for offending him. And he goes, "You were exactly right about everything." So I don't know what that said about Ginsberg.
Ginsberg was not like a real. He would never fit in with today's left, and I wrote about that too. He was a real anti-authoritarian, and he did not like censorship of any kind.
Hmm.
no matter what. And so he was very anti-censoriousness, like the left is. They're all, they want to censor and
Yes.
cut you off and shut you up. He would have had none of that at all. In fact, he said what you need to do is write down the very whatever comes to your mind. You should write down what's coming through your mind, and you should not censor yourself in writing. Now that's a hard thing to say right now, but imagine. So it's hard not to censor yourself, I think, in some cases, but I think that was something that, in a way, I would say Ginsburg was like a left libertarian type.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I think.
yeah.
Well, I think a
So
lot of because they were rejecting the authority of the day, the establishment of the day, and so they couldn't very. It's just ironic that a lot of those people that lived. I mean, Jerry Rubin became a yuppie on Wall Street, and
right.
some of those people that survived, Bill Clinton. I mean, Bill and Hillary Clinton. They became the establishment, and they were
Yeah.
more tyrannical than the whatever they were fighting against back then.
Oh yeah, absolutely they did. Ginsburg was never part of that. I'm not trying to lionize the guy. I have a lot of problem. I've criticized him very strongly
Mhm.
since, and my politics are totally, uh, antithetical to his in a way. But um, it was an interesting. It certainly was a worthwhile thing to do, even though it was really quite stressful because it was so bizarre. Yeah.
Well, I ended you meeting Dylan. Like I said, Dylan was when I was young, I was as far left as you could be, and I was a card carrying member of the ACLU, and I hated the right. I hated, and I was writing my own songs and trying, and I was listening to Dylan, and I was like AJ Weberman, who was my friend on Facebook for a while. It's a
Yeah.
fascinating guy, but I don't know. He might want to kill me from what I say about the Jews. I don't know. He's fairly radical, but he's kind of hard. But he was going through Dylan's trash to try to analyze his lyrics. And I was kind of doing that, not going through his trash, but I was saying, what is he talking about here? And I noticed in your article you quoted part of the verse from Desolation Row where he talked about at midnight all the ages the superhuman and they bring the heart attack machines. And I thought, wow,
Yeah.
that's what a concept. So but that was that kind of imagery that drew me to him.
I mean, you can't, even if you're a virulent anti-Semite and don't like Bob Dylan for that reason, you can't deny the unbelievable lyrical virtuosity
Oh, it's incredible.
this guy has and brought to into popular into the
Yeah.
popular ars popularis. That's pretty amazing. So I would say he's one of the greatest songwriters of all time. I mean, I can't see it any other way.
No, me too. And I just, when I listen to him, yeah, okay, I'm aware of it. And I really don't know what he believes because for a while he was kind of involved with the Jewish Defense League, or
Yeah.
I think they could be classified as terrorists, maybe if you wanted to extend that. So was Weberman. But now I don't know if he's a born again Christian or really. I don't know.
What happened was he had this born again thing, and then the Jewish, the synagogue of Satan came for him. I mean, they said, whoa, buddy, and
Mhm.
they pulled him in, and they said, listen, you're not, you're following a heresy. This is not, truth. You're being duped and all this. So they brought him over to Israel, and they talked to him, showed him around like they do, all totalitarian states. They only show you what they want you to see,
Yeah.
and everything else is completely hidden. And he bought into it. He came back and writes like this proto-Zionist album.
Yeah.
And it was called Infidels, actually.
Yeah.
Infidels. Interesting, because you just wrote a piece about this. It was called Infidels. And it had this one song on there called Neighborhood Bully, in which he says, it's all supposed to be ironic that Israel is called this neighborhood bully when it's always surrounded by people that want to kill them. And, the whole, He totally bought into the Zionist thing.
Yeah.
And then I think he came out of it because he says now, when asked, do you still believe in the Bible? And he says, yeah, the whole thing, front and front to end, all of it. So
no, it's kind of hard to be. I didn't mean to have Dylan take over the conversation, but I was thinking about it. Yeah, because that's it. We
well,
obviously
if we do go for 2 hours, we better have some interesting things to say, right?
well, I mean, and it's Brian Wilson's death affected me surely too. We saw him. My wife and I saw him, and I saw the Beach Boys back in '76. I remember, and they were it was a great concert, but he wasn't there with them. He was, he didn't tour with them then,
Yeah,
and then but I saw him, and right before the COVID nonsense started. I think it was January of 2020, something
wow.
like that. Literally right before then, and it was pretty sad because they had to. He could still, sing in his new style, which obviously wasn't his, the way he could before, but they kind of almost carted him out on stage. Like he could, they wheeled him out on stage and put him behind the piano. And they had Al Jardine's son or somebody doing his high vocals, the
Yeah.
former. But did you ever see him? I just, obviously one of the great, you're talking about Dylan and Brian Wilson, two of the great musical geniuses of our lifetime.
Yeah, I think so. It's ironic too, because they're so different from each other, but interesting polarity there. There's something to be gotten from both. See, I'm kind of a both and kind of guy, not neither nor or either or type. I think there's something to be gained from both of them. Very, very good stuff. But yeah, Dylan did fall into the Gio trap for a while, and I think he emerged from it because I don't know. He said that the music is his religion. That's what his faith. His music. He said is how he communes with God or whatever. That's how he gets there.
Yeah, I think it's ironic. I think I consider I put Joni Mitchell in there too. I think Joni Mitchell's great, but I think the three greatest modern songwriters are Bob Dylan, John Lennon, and Brian Wilson, and they all had the same kind of experience where they were really impacted by drugs, which
Yeah.
really stopped. Like Brian Wilson was, how much more prolific would he have been? And John Lennon was the Beatles. He was the Beatles, and during Beatlemania, he was the face
Oh
of the
yeah.
Beatles. He wrote most of the stuff, and then gradually he became a heroin addict. Yoko came into the picture, and he just kind of petered out, and Paul McCartney took over. But what would he have been without heroin? I mean, who knows if he had
That's
kept up
true.
that production? Same thing with Dylan.
Absolutely.
His strange motorcycle accident and Dylan's own drug use. I mean, it's sobering to consider how much more material, but still, even with all those issues, I think they put out the best work.
I think Dylan was on speed at the outset in his career. That's what I think he started with. And I think that's why he was able to write all those songs that are on the first couple albums that he put out, Bob Dylan, and then I forget what the first other one was. And then another side of Bob Dylan.
Freewheeling Bob Dylan on the other side, yeah.
I think there was 4 albums. Anyway, he wrote all the songs in the period of 3 months, all of them for all 4 albums. And he just putting them out was just a matter of time. In other words, the issue wasn't his output. He was putting out more stuff than they could publish.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
I always wondered, because after Blonde on Blonde, I don't think he was the same again, except for Blood on the Tracks. I think it was great, but other than that, the rest of the stuff there was a change, and I don't know. He had that middle. Yeah,
I got to differ with you here. My favorite work is the Christian stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In particular, Saved, not the first one. There's some great songs on the first one, like I Believe in You and a few others, but the Saved album is really, it's amazing. Like he sings this song called Pressing On. It's like the guy goes into gospel music and does like out of nowhere and comes in and does maybe the best gospel song I've ever heard.
Is that was it's like there's one, isn't it, when he returns or something? When he returns
when
or
he
something?
returns,
Yeah,
that's on
that's a
that
heavy
album
song.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's that that's
pressing on, and then there's the song "Covenant Woman,"
mhm.
and it's beautiful stuff, man. And an interesting thing is during that period, I think he had more energy behind his music than at any other time.
Yeah, well, maybe he was, dealing with it was, his spirituality or whatever, but
Yeah,
it's people might get bored if we talk too much about entertainment,
yeah,
but
yeah,
the
yeah. That's
one
enough. Fine.
one of the books, and again, I don't have them in front of me here, but, and I guess it was you wrote something about, parentage or something? Which
It's
book was
called.
that?
It was called "Springtime for
Yes,
Snowflakes:
yes, yeah, talk about that.
Social Justice and Its Postmodern Parentage."
Okay.
So, yeah, the point of the title is that uh, the snowflakes are totalitarians. And that's the irony. They're totalitarian snowflakes. So it's the first part of the title, is, of course, based off of Mel Brooks' The Producers, where Hitler,
Yes,
Springtime for Hitler.
right, right.
I was trying to make an analogy there. And then, of course, snowflakes melt in the spring usually. So
Mhm,
I was trying to make a statement there. And then the postmodern social justice, which is the movement they now call woke, and
mhm.
it's postmodern. My argument is that it all came out of postmodern theory, French postmodernism mostly. Uh, the social justice stuff, that is, all the crazy ideas about uh, the subordinated people and the intersectionality, and the whole 9 yards of uh, this whole kind of like what I guess they know, like a grievance culture, um, where Nietzsche referred to it as a an inversion ideology. So they want to flip the social hierarchy, right? They think that they're at the bottom, so they want to flip it. That's the main argument of the book, and it comes out of postmodernism. Excuse me. Sorry, there's only one way in.
No, there's no problem. It's just obviously it's an informal show. You'd be surprised some of the things we have. I had several times I've had this couple on that I do a lot of things about CPS abuse and the people that have gotten their kids stolen from, and they had the kid who was perfectly normal before they took him, and he wasn't vaccinated. That's why they took him,
Oh,
and they vaccinated him against his will, and he's full blown autistic now. So he's in the background. They really can't control him too much,
oh
and
my God.
it's wasn't designed to be for people to see that, but it's maybe it's instructive. But yeah, I like to do this kind of shows because people not too many people talk about that stuff, and it's very. I'm still waiting for a CPS case anywhere where they kept the family together. I don't think
That's
that's
amazing.
yeah. I don't think
Yeah,
that's ever.
yeah. They killed some people. They
Yes,
injured a lot. Yeah, it was just a fucking
they killed is
look,
it Beverly Schaefer and Georgia and her husband. I think they killed them. The big critic of CPS.
do you think I'm going to ask you a question now? Do you think the COVID crisis, this weaponization of biology, what they did? Do you think this was part of an intentional culling of humanity, that they wanted to kill some people off?
Looks like it, doesn't it? It looks like these were people like Bill Gates at the face of it, who were, big time, very vocal eugenicists, and that seems to be what they accomplished. I don't really know any other reason for it. I mean, my book "Masking the Truth" is about COVID, but it's
Uh
the
huh.
most, and just me mentioning this assures that I have to take this down from YouTube right after the last.
Uh oh.
Any mention of it at all is medical misinformation, and they'll suspend
They're
my
still
channel.
doing that?
Yep, just that issue. I mean, I could talk about Jews and anything controversial, and I don't hear about it. But I mention that subject and every time. So I like to keep the live stream going because I get most
Oh,
people
okay. Sorry
watching
about
it
that. I
on
didn't
you.
mean
No,
to broach
no,
that.
that's fine. No, that's fine. I don't shy away from it. So, and that's what a lot of times I take the show down anyhow, just to, because I'm trying to get the people to get over to Rumble and put it
Yeah.
on my Rumble channel. But yeah, no, I think that That's about the only thing that explains it. I don't know what else does because
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
what.
they wrote about this for years, uh, these neo Malthusians, these people that believe that population is out of control, these people that they believe there's overpopulation.
Yep.
I mean, they've been started saying this in the 60s and 70s, 50s, even going back to the UN's. They
Yep.
held these conferences on, and they were eugenicists. I mean, so it's weird how this flips, right? So the interesting thing is the progressives in America in the 20s and 30s, they were the eugenicists. I mean,
Yes.
right? It wasn't Nazis. It wasn't the right wing. This was actually the left wing.
No, I don't know what Hitler, really did or anything because it's so much, you can't trust anything. But the left of his day, if he did what they said he did, should have loved him because this is
Yeah.
what they wanted. I mean, they didn't necessarily want to target Jews or any one group, but they wanted the population to go down. They talked about it constantly.
Yes, absolutely they did. And, you had, what's his name? The population bomb, Ehrlich, and
Oh, you had it was I think he might still be alive. I'm not sure. Yeah, they used to
yes,
write
yes,
about that.
they still trot him out as if he's a respectable person to talk to after he said that there was going to be like a complete collapse,
Yeah,
civilizational collapse if we didn't, cull the population dramatically.
yeah. It's like, oh, those predictions are hilarious, just like climate change predictions and Al Gore and all the others. And these people still have credibility, and you can look at their unbelievably ridiculous predictions. You go back to AIDS. I remember Oprah standing on screen, and I can't remember what it was exactly, but this was like right in the middle of it, probably mid '80s, and she was saying, it's estimated that it's something like 1 in 3 Americans will have AIDS by 1990 or some ridiculous thing that obviously never came, and no
Yeah,
one ever held these people accountable. They just said whatever they wanted, and you saw the same kind of thing during COVID, where there was, prediction how many millions were going to die and all that stuff. And the guy in England that had this study
yeah.
and wasn't discredited. I mean, it's all in
He
my book, but
he put out that. Yeah, he put out the scare stuff out of. I think it was out of Oxford or I
yeah,
forget where he was, and I forget his name, but I did write about him. But yeah, he put the scare out there, saying this using, of course, these as they do in climate science, so called these simulations, modeling. It's you can change those models so easily. I mean, it's absurd, and the climate science is like a completely rigged uh, game. I mean, the whole thing is a complete fraud. Okay, everything about it is a fraud. There's no connection between CO2 and temperature historically at all.
right.
So it's not true. So it's so this is just amazing, though, isn't it, Donald? How many things we were taught that we found out to be complete fabrications, utter lies.
Yeah, and I think that's what there's such a distinction now between because I do think more people are awakening, and especially young people, because they realize the bill of goods that our generation sold them,
Yeah,
and and that's why when I write about this election, everything I talk about Mom Donnie, I don't know what the hell he really is. If he's, I don't think he's really a Marxist, but if he was or whatever, even
yeah,
I think he's an installed figure. But, as Tucker Carlson used to say to his conservative guests, one of the many things that impressed me about the way Tucker was evolving, and again, I know most of my audience thinks he's a CIA stooge, and maybe he is, I don't know. But I'm just saying I usually agree with 99% of what he says. Uh, but he would ask his conservative guests, he would say, like, okay, so you're talking about universal basic income or any of these other programs, like Mandami's free everything. Okay, well, you have to have something to counter that. Well, what is your proposal? And the right has no proposal except tax cuts,
yeah,
which most people don't make enough money so that they would get a tax cut. 50% of the country has less than 1% of the collective wealth. I wrote about that in
yeah,
my book, Survival of the Richest. And The right doesn't recognize that. They just
Yeah.
keep saying, "Well, become an entrepreneur." And what did you do during COVID? How many small businesses did you shut down that never? I mean, who knows how many dreams you killed there, and by supporting that. So I
Hmm.
think I don't know what does the right stand for at this point. We know what the left stands for mostly evil stuff, but we know what it is. What does the right stand for other than tax cuts
Yeah.
and Israel?
Israel is what they stand for. Fish, in the state, that's what they stand for, is Israel and the military industrial complex that benefits from this Zionist project, right? So Israel is the sine qua non of the Republican Party right now, without which
Mhm.
nothing. And I think it's going to change. It could change dramatically, actually, because we're seeing. Look at these young people lining up to ask questions of. For example, the last one I saw was lining up to ask questions of. I think it was Eric Trump and Laura Trump. And
Mhm.
the kid got up there and said, "Why do we say Israel is our ally? And why did your father bomb Iran?" And
Yes,
I mean, just
yes.
coming right out and say, and
Yeah,
this is where these people are. This is where the young people are. This is beautiful.
yeah.
This
Mhm.
is and it's not confined to the left or right or whatever they want to construe this thing to be. It's all through the whole youth. I mean, it's not left right at all. And that's the thing that really scares the ruling class
Yeah,
is if you see the so-called left and right, which they've worked assiduously to keep in existence and fighting each other to no end, right? When you see them coming together over something, they get very worried, and especially since it involves the ruling class. And what I mean by that, the people that have control of the state and its powers. So,
yeah. No, that's true, and that's why, you were as a former Marxist, I mean, one of the most stirring words ever written were "Workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains." I mean, that
right.
must have invigorated so many people over the year
Yeah.
because but workers, I mean, as a late baby boomer, I came in at the tail end of the baby boomer age, but I experienced some of that incredible economy, post-war economy, but we were all spoiled with that because that's
Yeah.
the only time America had an economy like that. It's the best economy I think the world's ever seen, but it was mainly due to defense contracts and things like that. But every job did pay a living wage. I
Yeah.
knew parents whose, you know, like a bunch of kids I knew, their fathers worked at Montgomery Wards or Sears or, stores
Yeah.
like that, just worked on accounting. They didn't have executive
Yeah, yeah.
jobs, and they owned a house.
My father was a contractor. Small remodeling company. We had 9 children. Okay,
Yeah, get a
I was the seventh of 9.
mhm,
We lived with my father working manual labor. We had a vacation place. We had 2 boats. We
yeah,
had 3 cars. We went on vacations every year,
yeah,
all of that, and we didn't talk about money. I never heard anything about money when I was growing up, and this was through the '70s where we supposedly had this stagflation. That didn't seem to be that bad compared to what's happened now.
no. No, I
Yeah,
think it kept right up until maybe in the '80s, but, yeah,
yeah,
certainly the '70s were I look back at the benefits I had at my job when I first started working, and just these were incredible, and young people today can't even "Well, what?" They don't it's foreign to concept to them how these things you used to have that they claim
yeah,
you can't have anymore, and,
yeah,
so much more personal freedom. I mean, I was a cigarette smoker. I gave it up when my wife was pregnant with her first child in, early '89, but, um, I tell people and I'm not advocating for cigarette smoking, although sometimes I do wonder if there's something healthy about it because they were trying to stop it for some reason, and they don't care about health, I know that. So what is in it? Does it have some good effects or something? But you can smoke anywhere. You could smoke in the hospitals, in the
yeah.
patient rooms, as long as there wasn't an oxygen tank.
I
Every
remember
bank.
smoking on airplanes, right? And
Oh,
in the back,
yes, yes,
smoking in the
sitting
back of
there.
an airplane. Can you imagine
Yes.
that today? Yeah,
No,
it
it's
was
incredible. I
crazy.
mean, whenever you walk through a grocery store, you just throw the cigarette on the floor and stomp it out, and then they bring somebody along to sweep them up later. Banks, anywhere, any kind of store you went in, and again, that made but it was a personal liberty. Same thing with seatbelts. Nobody, I never wore a seatbelt until you had to start. They started putting the dinging things in there, so you had to wear 'em. I never wore one, and messed up my dress, as I used to joke. I think that it was that kind of thing. You remember as kids, you used to be able to sit in the back of pickup trucks and things
Mhm.
like
Oh,
that and
yeah.
bounce around,
Yeah,
and
we
open
did
it.
that.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
father, when we went on vacations, he would take the pickup truck and build a tent over it, and we'd
Mhm,
all ride in the back, on the mattresses. Yeah,
mhm.
yeah, it wasn't glamorous. It's a working, but that's working class. We were working class, but we had a lot of stuff. I mean, we were going
Yeah,
on vacations, and
yeah,
we had a summer home, and we had
yep.
boats, and we had a good time. And it didn't seem to be a strain. It wasn't like now. We weren't going into debt. So, I mean,
And
I guess
you had
uh,
go ahead,
uh,
I'm sorry.
what changed, I think, is uh, well, it's there's multiple factors I think that's made it go down, but for the most part, I would say that a lot of it really was the war economy. We basically had to
Mhm.
pay for it. The Vietnam War we paid for later, and then we paid for the Iraqi War, and that's an enormous sum. I mean, you look at these wars that we're involved in, all these trillions of dollars, and now I think you look at it, and you could probably account for most of the debt through
Sure.
from the war economy. You could account for much of the debt that the country's in, much of the 38 trillion.
Yeah, and I always, 'cause during that we had this shutdown going on, which again doesn't give anybody a good look, but the media always blames Republicans. So Trump is facing the brunt of it. It's all his fault. And he's
Yeah,
this big doofus that's sat there. He's a perfect victim for it. But he doesn't do anything to help it. But why is it that, for instance, food stamps are in danger of being cut off,
right.
but I doubt very seriously that aid to Ukraine will be cut off.
Yeah, exactly. I
Or
mean,
aid to Israel. Well, how does that work? Why isn't that in the continuing resolution?
now one of the things that drove me nuts was during the hurricanes down in North Carolina and I guess mostly North Carolina. While these people were, basically utterly wiped out and nothing was being done for them. At the same time, we sent I forget what it was, $500 million to North Lebanon because they had just been bombed by Israel. I
Right.
mean, this is disgusting. I mean, we run around cleaning up after them, not only giving them the bombs, but now we have to do the triage after their attacks. This is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it is. It's your and it's just it's all part of what I was hoping that we would see. And again, I supported Trump in the beginning, even though I knew I was familiar with this guy, and I said this is an
Yeah.
unlikely populist hero,
Yeah,
but I knew
it
about
was like
his
throwing you don't know what the other, you don't know what the dealer's really holding there, but you're going to play
yeah,
the hand, and that's the only one you were dealt.
right. But his rhetoric was revolutionary, and some of it was stuff I've been saying.
Yeah,
Just by parties and stuff. And I said, "Wow, this is." I mean, I didn't. I suspected this can't be real, but I also rationalized that the only with our system, the only kind of an outsider that could ever get into the political world outsider would be a renegade billionaire like
yeah,
that.
right,
Somebody that
true,
is like Ross Perot, who I think was
right.
kind of, and Ross Perot, famously said, we were talking about our economy, and Ross Perot very famously said, we keep going, we're going to have the first generation in the history of the world, history of this country, to have give their children a lower standard of living than them, and that's definitely come to pass. There's
Oh
no
yeah,
question about it. Our children will have a lower standard of living. Grandchildren will be even lower than that, and it's a shame, but Trump, he was saying a lot of the great stuff, and yeah, okay, it
yeah, he
obviously
was.
turned out he was what we thought he was, but,
Yeah. What were you going to do? I mean,
yeah, what
it
choice did
really
you
was
have?
no other choice. You had In
Hillary
16, you
Clinton.
had Hillary versus him. I mean,
Yeah.
what are you going to do? You're going to vote for like uh,
Right.
the wicked witch, witch of the West, or are you going to,
Exactly.
or are you going to vote
Exactly.
for this other guy that's saying some wild shit? I mean, I love the
Yeah.
stuff he was saying, so I voted for him.
Oh, it was great. He had, he did a lot of bad things in the beginning too, but he invited Dr. Andrew Wakefield to his inauguration, who was, one of the most controversial figures in the world. He was the father of the vaccines cause autism thing. And for him to put him in a prominent position, and his inaugural address was, was the best since JFK. It was great. I
Yeah,
remember saying, "Wow, this is okay. Maybe I can forgive him for this Mike Pence character as his vice president." But obviously it soon became unraveled, but what made Trump interesting was he was the first candidate since maybe Pat Buchanan, with what little support he had, to talk about America first, and even saying America first, which brought up, the comparisons to, oh, the Nazis, because an America first movement was really
right.
classical liberals of the day that didn't want to get us involved in another war. They weren't
That's
Nazis, but
right.
that's what.
They were not Nazis. They were
Yeah.
actually like, um, you would call them they call them isolationists or whatever. They were
Yes.
effectively uh, non-interventionists. That's what they were. Now you could say they were the peaceniks of the right, more or less.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's but the important thing I think about Trump was he was the first candidate to really stress domestic issues, talk about the infrastructure and the things that were wrong here and how wrong, how misguided we were, the fake news and how we've been lied to. He talked about the senseless wars. And
Yeah,
I mean, it's just so disappointing to look how we've gone all this way to where he sits now. And
yeah,
he's could be the most aggressive interventionist we've seen. I
yeah.
mean, bombing Venezuelan boats indiscriminately and claiming they were narco terrorists afterwards. Like, who knows how many innocent fishermen have died because of this?
And then he rules it all into what MAGA was supposed to be. So they just,
Yes.
it's stunning what they've tried to get over on people by suggesting that this is what they actually voted for. And
Yeah.
then you're going to have basic martial law in most cities because they want to
Yeah.
do the National Guard thing that they're doing in DC. They want to do it in Chicago. They'll probably try to do it in New York. Who knows? There'll probably be a battle with Mamdani and Trump over that, where Trump will try to bring
Yeah.
the National Guard into New York City or
Yes.
something.
Yes. Yes. And again, he's trying to portray himself as a good guy to the young people. Here's this, young charismatic guy who's saying, "I want free grocery stores," and I mean, they don't know that's not going to work, but he's offering them that. And here
Yeah.
comes Trump bringing the police in. You can't do that. Like, let's see how much
That's
young
what's going to
person gets.
happen. Yeah.
Yes, I
It's,
definitely see that because and that's why, the point of my article today, Substack article today, was that, as Tucker Carlson said, to those conservatives, what are you offering? What's your alternative? What are you? And you can't just keep saying tax cuts again, because tax cuts always go to the wealthiest people, because most people don't make enough income to get tax cuts. How are you
right.
going to? I mean, they're already getting refunds, and so it's a stupid. I met so many blue collars work going back to Reagan. I remember, arguing with all the young people I was working with as a young person myself then. Uh, and I said, "Have you looked at your paychecks? Are you getting more take home pay?" And they just
Right.
give me a blank. "Yeah, he needs," I said, "But he's not. You look at your paycheck. What more proof do you need?
Yeah.
He's raised your Social Security taxes.
Yeah.
It's he just cut taxes on the most on the wealthiest people, but it's just, I don't know. It's so hard to. That's
Yeah, I
the
mean, look,
but
we're cutting SNAP benefits as we send. We continue
yes,
to fund Ukraine and Israel. I mean,
yeah,
that's despicable. I'm against all of it, but if I had my choice is between like feeding my
right,
neighbor or killing
right,
other people, I think
right.
I'd take the feeding my neighbor choice.
Exactly, and that's what, Ron Paul's famous statement was when they asked him about Social Security when he was running for president. He said, "Well, that wouldn't be the place I'd start." That's
That's
exactly right,
right.
and that'd be the last place you'd go to.
Exactly.
but these Republicans, the Trumpist people, they want to start at Social Security, Medicare, which are stuff we paid into. It's our money, and
Mhm.
they act like it's an entitlement. And I'm, terrified that they're going to end up doing that. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
more
me too.
better off than most people, but I need it, and it doesn't
Well,
make any sense. But
I'm still. I don't know about you. I don't know how old you are, Donald, but uh, and I don't want. I want to ask, but
oh well,
uh,
I'm 16. I'm 69, so I'm
okay,
taking it.
I'm 66, so uh, I'm still working. I still have to work.
Yeah. Well, I would still be too, but I was, I planned to work until 70. That's what my plan was, and then I could get Social Security and not be penalized for it. I thought like maybe they've changed that too, but that was at the time then. But I worked in IT, and I've written about it before. I was unceremoniously fired. They looked for any reason to get rid of me because I was one of the few Americans left in the data center. It was all Indian foreign visa workers, and they wanted to get rid of us, and they did, and that was it. I mean, fortunately, I had gotten my pension a couple years before, and they ended it, so I took a lump sum. Otherwise, they would not given me that either. But so I what I'd already written and what I'm talking about, I've made myself unemployable. So I don't think anybody would hire me.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
happy if anybody wants to, but it's so
I can't say where I am. I'm in academia right now, and I can't say where because they'll kill me. They'll ruin it. They'll
yeah,
end it. So, uh, you know,
yeah. Well, I'm sure there was. And I had, but I'm amazed that no one, and wherever you work, that no one has dug up your stuff or tried to approach you. But hey, what's this? I found this thing. You wrote here. What's up with that? And nobody's done that though.
no, not at all. I think there's quite a bit of more sequestering on the web than we think. That
Hmm.
there's not there's I think things are pretty much in these various bubbles, and some of these people don't get into these spaces at all, so they're just not there. They don't know about it.
Right, right.
Now, if they ever do find out, then I have a defense that's moral. It's a moral defense. So, and it happens to be that that would matter in this context of the school that I'm talking about.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, well, I'm glad that you're still gainfully employed because it's not like, I mean, I make a little bit of money off my writing and much more off of Substack than I do off my books. My books don't, my 10 books total don't add up to much. That's for sure. But,
I know it doesn't make you any money. So nobody, yeah, I think people don't understand that. Books do
no.
not make you money. Now you can. I got a lot of speaking gigs out of books.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's where you make the money. You don't make it on the books, and when you start coming out against Zionism, all those organizations that were having me speak, except for one, would never have me speak now
Yeah, I bet. No,
because
that's,
they were all like right wing, kind of like arch, and it turns out they're all Zionists, and they're not going to have me around and they're ever again. So, but that's okay because I didn't. At least I didn't get killed by Zionism like people in the over in Palestine. At least they didn't kill
exactly.
me. They tried to shut my job down, and they did. I lost a fellowship over this, and my publisher, but not this current job. But you know, yeah, they'll come after you.
No, and that's that's obviously true. So some of us, we're just it is what it is, and I'm lucky that I can make a little bit of money writing and Social Security as long as it lasts. So,
Yeah,
I do live in fear of that because, and like I said, there are people that are way more. I mean, I have my home and I have some other stuff, but I mean, there's so many people that have nothing
yeah,
but Social Security, and it's a pittance. And the
yeah,
idea that they would, and again, I think it's that the conservatives are so out of touch. Say what you want about the liberals are out of touch in another way because they think that
yeah,
every other person should be transgender or whatever. They're completely they're living in a dream world too. But conservatives have they have no concept of what I mean. They can't all be wealthy, but maybe they are. I don't know the ones that have public platforms, but they have no concept of what a working person goes through in this country, a blue
Yeah,
collar person. And Trump tried to appeal to that, much as Reagan did,
he
but his
did.
policies just don't reflect that. And so you can't, there's so many things like Social Security. They could means test it. Ross Perot tried out voluntary means testing back, and they just jumped all over him. He said, "I
Yeah,
don't need it. I don't need it. Why would it?" And he was right, but they won't let you do that. And every penny, every all your income isn't taxed for Social Security. It's only the first. I think it's up to 160 some thousand now.
I
But
get it cut. I get it cut because I make money. So
mhm,
they cut the Social Security. They start making cuts in it. So you
mhm.
lose some of it. The more you do, the less, the more they'll
Yes,
take off of you. So
yes, yes. Oh yeah, yeah. My wife and I for the last we never had to file joint separately before, but we have to now because they make it impossible for because you can't if she's working, you can't have any really any at all too
yeah,
much, and then all your Social Security is
yeah.
taxed. But yeah, people don't appreciate that, and it's. But I just
I
feel for
mean,
the people that.
the travesty of it is that I'm not even a big social welfare type guy. The travesty is that what's displacing it is abysmal. I mean, what's
Yes.
being paid for, what we're spending money on
Yeah.
in lieu of that is a death machine. I mean,
Exactly.
it's unbelievable.
No, that's I had such high hopes for Doge. I don't know what you thought of Doge. I was really excited when this administration started.
Yeah,
I
I
knew
thought it was
Elon. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
and the disclosures coming out about USAID, and I said, "Well, wait till they get to the Pentagon itself," which they said they would do. Wait till they get to the CIA, the Fed, the Federal Reserve. And what happened? I mean, is Doge even does it even exist anymore? I don't know.
They're not doing it. No, it's not. It's totally it's defunct. Uh, so I think here's what I think happened. Uh, you can't go near the deep state and live. I mean, look, they're gonna stop you. So they were getting too close. You can't penetrate those elements because you're getting into now. You're going to find out who's controlling this and who's controlling the money and who's controlling the country. So you can't get too deep into the deep state without them shutting you down. So that's what happened there, I think.
Yeah, but
Doge
I
was
mean,
starting to hit the third rail.
yeah, yeah, and that was such a great because I thought again in my world my audience is so jaded that I look like the sunny optimist and I'm really a cynic but most of these people are so black pilled they don't I guess they think I'm real but not much more than that but so they thought Doge was ridiculous. Oh, they're not really doing anything, and I said, well, okay. I said, if Ron, most of them like Ron Paul still. And I said, so if Ron Paul had been elected president in
Yeah,
2012 when they really
yeah,
screwed him out of all the primaries and everything, and I helped
yeah.
on his campaign, and my son worked on his campaign, but I said, Doge sounds exactly like the kind of thing he probably would have done. He could look at everything. Let's get rid of all the
Yeah,
fraud. I
yeah.
mean, to me, it sounded just like that. But
It,
all
it,
that,
I think he would have maybe just tried to make cuts without even looking.
yeah,
Because he would have. So he's a little bit repulsed by the idea of like enlarging the state in order to cut it.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I don't think he would go for that. I think he would just cut,
Well,
and
I think
that
that,
was
that
the
they
way.
Well, they claimed I
That's
thought that they were reporting that he was advising Elon Musk, at least in the beginning, on Doge. He was supposed
well,
to be.
no,
He was advising.
that was just rumored that they would. They tried to get that to happen. I don't know what camp
Oh,
was
okay.
trying to get that to happen.
Oh,
It
okay.
never did happen. Uh, but there was talk of it, and even Elon Musk contributed to that. So they had a good reason to believe that he was going to bring on Ron Paul as like a consultant, but it didn't happen. I think Ron Paul maybe too. Look, the guy's 90. What is it? 91.
Isn't
Give
he?
the
I
guy a
guess he's
break.
yeah.
He's done his job already.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, he's not the
If
answer.
there's nobody that can step up and do it, then the shame
Yeah.
is on us, But yeah,
Oh,
he
and
was the greatest.
well, I think we have a great guy in Congress now in Thomas Massey. I think he's great,
Yes.
but I don't know, what's succeed in getting him out of office. I don't know how. And again, how can I don't understand how the MAGA people can look at that. He's the best guy you have in Congress by far, and Trump is working against him to try to get him out of there, and he's endorsing Lindsey Graham again. I
Yeah.
mean, what I don't understand how Trump has any. The only reason Trump has any support again, I think, because the other side is so bad, and they'll just say something ridiculous or come up with some new, like in Virginia here where I am. We elected this old woman. Pretty much, you have Spanberger and the
Yeah.
first Muslim lieutenant attorney general who's a woman, and it's going to be such a matriarchy here, and so I can understand, any kind of halfway alpha male running against them should get a lot of male votes, but I don't know anymore. And again, I don't know how real the vote is, but I think they don't need, despite what my audience might think. Yes, of course, I think it's fraudulent, and I think they do, but I don't know how much fraud they need. Demographics have changed. I talked to too many old white people in my community, and they're excited about Democrats winning. It's like, I think, unfortunately, we're in the minority still.
Hmm. Oh yeah, that's possible. I mean, I'm not going to get into the vote,
Mhm.
the electoral fraudulence part, although it's pretty likely to be the case,
Sure.
Uh, but why do we have the elections? I mean, if they're not real, is legitimation of the system.
Mhm.
Obviously,
Yeah.
they need to legitimate it, and so the vote works that way. Now, I'm not saying that's the way it should work, certainly, uh,
Mhm.
but I think that's really what it does. It just legitimates um, the more or less preordained, can't person.
Absolutely. Would you? I'm going to. What I've been doing last month or so. What I do is I put I open this up to video or audio callers. If you're
Oh, great!
interested in that, I say, now see if I can't guarantee you. Sometimes we
Don't worry
get,
about it. I've been through all of them. Don't worry.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes we get a lot. Sometimes nobody's interested. So I hope. Okay, guys, I'm putting it in the chat room here. I'm putting it in the. Okay, I put it in the YouTube. I'm gonna go put it in Rumble too. Even though almost no one is over. Where are you people at Rumble? Just no one's in the chat room there? Okay, let me see if I can put it in there. Okay. Okay, I'm putting the okay, all you gotta do is click on that link, whether you're watching on Rumble or watching on YouTube, and you can come in if you have a question for Michael or comment or whatever. We can talk about anything. Obviously, we're talking about entertainment too, and so some people there said they wanted the Dylan conversation to keep. So whatever you want to talk about, hey, Michael, there's so much stuff you've written about. What would you like to talk about that I probably missed? You have 14 books, but you've got more than me because I have 10, which is amazing. I
uh,
thought I was.
I have. I should say the 14th is just forthcoming. But it's at the publisher, and it's it'll be coming out before the end of the year here, supposedly. So that book is not anything to do with contemporary politics or anything. It has to do with 19th century politics, in particular the politics of knowledge in the 19th century. So it's about the struggle for scientific authority. Things like probably I don't want to bore your listeners with that, but that's one of the things. And then I'm always percolating new book ideas. I'm not sure what the next one will be, but there'll be another. So there's 14, counting the one that's coming out. Um, the one book I wrote that might be of interest, since you're probably one of the few Substack people I could say this to. I wrote a book called The Cabal Question.
Mhm.
It's a novel. It's a novel, and it is about what happens to a guy when he starts to have the wrong kind of thoughts. And in the case of particular tribe, okay,
Mhm.
so and it's not
Yeah.
about it goes down a lot of rabbit holes, but it's not really about the rabbit holes in as such, although they are interesting in their own right. It's about the travails the guy has upon expressing ideas that are not allowed to be expressed.
Sure.
And so it's
Well, you can do a lot more in fiction. Obviously, I am a frustrated novelist. I've had one novel published, but I've got a couple others that I think is my best work, but I can't get anybody interested in. So I love the fact you can
yeah,
say a lot more
it's
in
not the
fiction.
work that it's not the work that people will pick up on most. Like I had
No, not today. No.
I wrote another one called Thought Criminal.
Yes, yeah, I
And
saw that.
that,
Yeah, great
that
title.
came out right in the COVID period because I wrote it in that time, and it was
Perfect
very
time.
much connected to the COVID thing.
Yeah,
But I put
that's
it in a different fictional context
yeah. You
to
can
try
say a
to.
lot more.
What's
Well,
that?
we actually have somebody here that would like to ask you. White Wolf. White Wolf, how you doing, buddy? What's your question for Michael or comment?
Okay, well, I'm one of those people you were talking about earlier, the jaded of the jaded.
Oh, you are definitely jaded.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I think even Thomas Massey is faking gay, and I
Oh
was
boy.
wondering where Michael stood on the spectrum. Does he think that everything in Washington is just faking gay in a show at this point, or does he think some of the politicians are actually legitimate?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I can't. How could I complain about that question, Don? So, I
Oh no,
think
sure.
that
No, White Wolf
I
is
think
brilliant.
it's
He's
I think
black
the
Wolf.
whole left right of the aisle thing, all that. I think it's a theater in the end. I mean, I think they might
Oh,
believe
I
what they're
agree.
doing. Yeah, they might believe what they're doing, but they're effectively no more than characters on stage or in a show that is contained just like a TV show is contained. It's not affecting everything. It's just in a kind of a box, right? It's like a Truman Show.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's how they contain it
Well,
that way.
in that context, what do you think of the Ukraine war? Is that just theater too?
No, I think
Is
no. I think that the
is
theater.
is is
It's no,
Putin
no, no.
and
The Ukraine war is not theater. People are dying in
well,
masses
oh
there.
yeah, people are definitely dying, but do you think that Putin and Trump and all the rest are just playing their parts on the grand chessboard? Uh,
Well, I mean, I don't know what that means in a sense.
well, this all seems to be scripted to bring on World War III.
Oh,
I
I
don't
see.
know whether you're aware, but Albert Pike, way back in 1870, wrote a letter to a Freemasonic buddy, Giuseppe Mazzini, outlining three world wars, and he talked about World War I and World War II,
Hmm.
and that came to pass exactly as he predicted. And now World War III is shaping up exactly as he predicted, the Zionists versus the Arabs, basically,
I
and the
see.
Muslim world.
It sounds very plausible to me, frankly.
Yeah, and Gaza seems to be theater in order to enrage the entire Muslim world against the Zionists.
Yeah, I mean, I look, that's all very, very plausible. I all I can do on my part is to actually try to stop what I think is happening, or to do something about it, and so that's why I founded this PAC, so that we could at least bring attention to the fact that you have a government totally under their control. That this,
I don't think the people care anymore. I think the pandemic of 2020 showed how brainwashed most people are. That they'll believe anything that's on the television set, no matter how ludicrous it is. The same thing could be said of 9/11. I mean, the official narrative is just ludicrous, and yet people will quote it. And I think most people right now are just going along to get along.
I don't know. Okay. Well, I mean, maybe we're traveling in slightly different circles because I see a lot of people that are very conscious of what's going on, and they're not happy, and they're not sitting down for it.
Yeah.
Now, you could say, well, it's useless though, because so okay, what am I supposed to do? Lie down and just be run over by a tank? I can't
Oh,
do
well,
it.
I agree. I mean, I have the same attitude. I want to go out with my boots on if I'm going to go that route.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Well, I mean, I don't advocate violence, but if they're attacking me physically, I have a perfect right to
of
retaliate.
course, you have to
Yes.
defend yourself. And
I
I
don't,
think
I don't aggress against anybody. They aggress against us all the time.
Well, it's like Solitzin wrote. He said if we would have known that we were all going down, yeah, one of us could have taken 6 of them out, and they would have thought twice about the next raid. And I think we're getting to that point. I see some of these SWAT team raids, and they're taking casualties now, and it seems to have dampened some of these SWAT team raids. I see them decreasing,
Wow.
actually.
Well, yeah, I mean, your guess is as good as mine on that. I mean,
yeah, and
probably,
I think what the White Wolf's main thing, and I think that is that I think Michael's right that there are more people awake now than ever, definitely. But the problem is still remains that we have to have people that are not compromised in
yeah,
powerful positions, and we seem to have so few. I mean, somebody like White Wolf, and there's lots of people doesn't even think Massey is. I mean, so if we
yeah. Well,
if
I mean,
we won if he wasn't, you know.
yeah. I mean,
Well,
look,
I just think that Washington is a nest of pederasts and snakes and sellouts and all the rest of it. And you have people on the scale that can more or less put on a better act. But,
yeah. I mean, I think it's theater. I'm not sure about all of them being pedophiles or pederasts or.
Yeah.
I know what
I
they
don't
are.
think all of
One
them
thing I
are,
do
but,
know they are. They're cowards.
uh,
They're at least that. They're
Yes.
cowards who will not stand up to Zionism, and they will not stand up to power, and they bend to those people, and they execute their objectives as opposed to ours. They're total usurpers. Okay, they've usurped our government, and our political class is afraid of them. They're all a bunch of cowards, and they're all just kneeling down to these people.
I think you're right. White Wolf, final remarks. I gotta move on here. Anything else?
no, I'm about finished for this week. I'll check out, and hopefully somebody else will check in.
Nice
I
hearing from you.
Take care.
I appreciate your interest. Thanks. Okay. Yeah. So anybody, I'm going to put the link in here again. I love hearing from you. We have some interesting people, obviously, that
Yeah,
I never know when
I
they're going to
don't
come in.
disagree with him very much. I guess my difference is slightly attitudinal. I just feel
Yes.
my attitude towards the facts is a little different. That's all.
Well, I think, and that's what I try to tell people. I am aware, nobody is more. I used to read Ambrose Bierce's The Devil's Dictionary was my favorite book. I used to, read that, this talk about dark and cynical. But I think you have to hold out some hope. I mean, I talk about RFK Jr. and I still like the guy. I know he's got Rabbi Shmuley following him around, but who else have we had in Washington D.C. that has tried even talks about this stuff? So anything little he can get done. What are your thoughts on RFK Jr.?
Well, I debated him in California.
Oh wow, okay. Talk
Yes,
about that.
I was a libertarian. I was a libertarian candidate for president. So, at the California Libertarian Convention, I debated RFK Jr. and they called it a round table, but
Yeah.
but it was a debate. I made it a debate anyway.
Yeah.
What I was going to go after him on when I got cut off by the moderator
Mhm.
was what he said right after October 7th, which I found utterly despicable. He said that we should do anything in our power to, basically avenge what happened to Israel. And then in another place, he said that the Palestinians were the most pampered people in the history of humanity. I mean, I was going to bring these passages up, and put him on the spot, because those statements to me, and the Smoley stuff is,
Oh, yeah.
those statements to me, especially the one where he said the Palestinians were the most pampered people.
Yes.
I found it disgusting. So I was going to go after him on that. But, after the thing, though, to tell you the truth, after the thing, I shook his hand. I never got to say those things because the moderator cut me off, because we found out later the moderator was working for his campaign. Okay. That's how politics is.
Yes.
Libertarian or not, it's totally filthy. He cut me off.
Yeah.
After the thing, I said, I shook his hand and I said, God bless you. I mean, I wish the guy well. I don't have anything against the guy. I do think it's, one of the things that he's doing is to dismantle this fucking bureaucratic nightmare they were under. I think that would be good. But I mean, he's made some moves already that are also suspect.
No, it is. Yeah, no, it is. And I certainly, the rabbi, but I tell people, I was really struck when I went to, in September, it was ironically the day after the Charlie Kirk shooting. So everybody there, Tucker Carlson was supposed to be the keynote speaker at the Turning the Tide convention. Richard Gage, who I know, was giving it, but Tucker backed out because of the shooting, and I think he canceled all his appearances. He was scared. Everybody was kind of looking around them, during that, because it was fresh off happening. And but I got to meet Dennis Kucinich, who's one of my all-time heroes.
Oh,
I
yeah,
love
he's
him.
a great guy.
That's the kind of Democrat that I was, and
Right.
that one of the last ones like that. But listening to his speech, I was struck by how ardent and anti-Zionist he is. All he did, he criticized Israel. He talked. He was talking about 9/11, but he was talking about Israel and Zionism more than anything else. And so I thought to myself, because I've never thought RFK Jr.'s ridiculous pro-IDF and pro-Israel Zionist, it doesn't strike me as legitimate. I don't think they're sincere at all. I don't think he believes that for a second. And I go back to the fact that Kucinich is the guy that RFK Jr. named as his first campaign chairman for president.
Right. I know.
So if you love Israel so much, you think they've never killed the IDF soldiers never killed a Palestinian. They've never committed any atrocities.
He had fired him. He fired him though, so he did fire him.
But why did he? So why
in
would
the
you
first
name
place?
him?
Yeah.
And then he fired him. You remember what happened? They had that convoluted story about RFK Jr. being at a party where he made comments about the COVID vaccine didn't affect Jews as much as other people or something. He was called anti-Semitic and everything. And the whole thing made no sense. And then suddenly he starts, showing up at Israeli marches. Rabbi Shmuley shows up and he fires Kucinich. So I think somebody got to him.
Maybe they got to him. Here's the thing. There is the fear for one's life. I mean, this guy knows, for example, he knows for a fact that his father was not shot by Sirhan, that he was shot by the guy who was standing behind him.
Right.
The guard who was recently hired.
Eugene Caesar. Yeah.
So he wrote about it in the San Francisco Chronicle. It's not like it's secret. So he knows there's, nefarious actors that are really, and they get away with it. And it's, he knows also that the same people that killed his father or were behind that murder had to be behind the murder of his uncle. And then he knows these people are not only powerful, they're murderous if they have to be.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to live, maybe you would think about that a little bit.
Yeah. Oh no. And I think that, and that's why he's made. I never thought I would see a presidential candidate. The JFK assassination is my wheelhouse issue.
Yes, I know.
As a teenager, I was working as a volunteer for Mark Lane, my hero. And I never thought I'd see a presidential candidate openly saying the government killed JFK and RFK, like he has said over and over again.
Yes, he has.
His attitude towards Israel is completely incompatible with everything else he says.
I thought so too. That's why it was so disappointing when I heard this stuff about what he was saying about Palestinians. over and over when people would ask, I was like, what's going on here? It's incompatible with your
Yes.
worldview.
Yes. Definitely. He stands up for the if you look like early on, when he was still running for president, Rabbi Shmuley had already shown up. And he was
Yeah.
with him as he was there all the time as his handler. He was at a New
Yeah.
York event, and some woman from Jews for Peace or something like that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Yeah.
she asked him a question about apparently, which I had never heard of, an American citizen that was a Palestinian, though, uh, who was shot and killed by an IDF soldier, and they knew the name of the soldier. And Shmuley didn't let RFK respond. He jumped in and started, talking about anti-Semitism, and RFK Jr. You could see just kind of standing there. He didn't. I don't think he ever said a word.
Wow.
And
That's
so
amazing. Yeah. So he's handled, so
yes,
that's scary. I mean, that tells you more though than otherwise. I mean, it tells you, look, these people have control over people in the state, and it isn't just money. It is sheer power and will to kill you if necessary. Look, we're dealing with a international criminal cabal. That's what it is. Now, this isn't all Jews. I'm not saying that. It's a cabal that is criminal, like it is to maybe the Jewish people what the mafia was to the Italians. Hello. Isn't that hard?
Yeah. That's a great analogy. And RFK Jr., I mean, I read his book, which is very impressive, the book on family values, where he talked about growing up and everything. And I never knew there was a commission. I study this stuff all the time. A commission in the 1950s that was looking at the CIA that his grandfather, Joseph Kennedy Sr., which I think I'm his only defender. I've written a lot about him, how unfairly he was treated. He was a member of that commission, and he was he was pretty much the first public critic of the CIA. He was talking then in the 1950s how we really need to stop this, and so Alan Dulles and those
It's in
guys.
the family ethos. This is that's the family ethos is very, very strong, and it goes way back through the whole about 3 generations that I could see. So it doesn't make sense, some of these things that he said and did, or the parading and the and one of the first pronouncements that comes out after he takes his position is combating anti-Semitism. Like, that's our biggest plague.
Yes.
Okay, like that's also a public health issue or something. What?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I just have to think. I hope. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and he just, he's completely controlled op. But I mean, I just look at the history, and he knows how many family members they've killed. I mean, God, he ought to know. I mean,
he definitely.
Kennedys,
he's not a dumb guy, and he's pretty good at investigation. I think he knows, and you imagine how many people must try to give him information about this over the years.
I want so we have like 7 degrees of separation between us. His publisher's Skyhorse, mostly. That's mostly my publisher. Right. Yeah, and I know he has my books, but and I know he knows who I am. But I mean, I can't. I think he probably thinks I'm too out there, and especially when I'm talking about stuff like this. I'm talking about, when I'm saying that he can't possibly really feel this way about Israel. I mean, he's to me, I'm sure he's on that, because he's not going to admit it. Well, yeah, Rabbi Shmuley is my handler, and
right. I mean, but something's up. I think you're right. It is incompatible with everything he's otherwise stands for. So something is definitely amiss. But you say you hope that's the case. In my case, I say I wish it wasn't, because that shows you the degree of power these people have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
No, it's true, and that's why I understand White Wolf and the other people that are completely black-pilled, because it does seem hopeless all the time. Because I already, people in the chat that are talking about Tucker and Candace Owens, and I understand. I know what their backgrounds all are. And I just wrote a Substack recently. I had Candace and Charlie Kirk together, giving either the devil's horns or the hook 'em horns for Texas. Whatever they say, the ones that I understand that, but all we can do is judge them at face value. I mean, I just, if you don't trust anybody, then I don't know what the point is of discussing any of this, because then
Yeah.
people have told me that I'm not legitimate, or otherwise I'd be dead. So apparently the only way to legitimacy is to be murdered. I mean, I don't know if
Yeah.
you've gotten that.
I mean, you get this all. Look, there's always going to be people that are saying it's turtles all the way down. I mean, where does it end? Is there any foundation to anything then? I mean, really, you have to start to think that
Yes.
there is a basic human values that really pertains in most people's minds, and that most people actually live accordingly. But this people doesn't have that kind of system. Is where not even a system. This ethos that's deeply embedded in our, probably by now in our DNA. Frankly, if you believe in epigenetics, and it might be an adaptive trait to be very, to be sort of to love one's neighbor. I mean, that may be really adaptive, right?
Yeah.
Not only just right, but right because it suited our survival, if you believe in the evolutionary story. But so therefore, what I'm saying is I can't get that cynical, because I have to believe there's some peoples, at least that there are some people we can count on as being decent and real and not totally fraudulent. I just don't think it's the case that everybody is. I don't buy it.
No, and I agree. I mean, I can understand it. I can understand going there, but I think that if you do that, then there's no. What is the point of it? I tell people, well, there's no. Why am I wasting my time discussing this stuff or writing about it? Because if there was
you'd be a nihilist, and if you'd be a nihilist in effect, and that means for Nietzsche that was just a stage. By the way, it isn't the end; it's only the stage that would come before the transvaluation of values. Nevertheless, that's not the point. The point is, it's nihilistic, and I don't think it's an end point. I don't think anybody stays there forever.
Okay, guys, I put the link in a couple times. I'd like to hear from more of you. I never know what these people are. They tell me how much when I started doing this, they told me how much I loved it, and I had a bunch of people first doing it, and now they're just kind of sitting there. I'd love to meet more of you and see more of you, and I'm sure you must have questions for Michael. We've talked about all this. Tell a little bit more, because we still got 20 minutes left. What more about your organization? How you came to start it? How can people join? Can they contribute?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, so it's AZAPAC. That's AZAPAC, and it means the Anti-Zionist America Political Action Committee. Our website is aza-pac.com. We tried to get AZA without the dash, AZAPAC without the dash, and it was $49,000. So we changed it to 15. It's aza-pac.com. What we're about is we're agnostic about like the state of Israel, whether it should exist and all that. We are not, that's not what we mean by Zionism. What we're talking about is simply the control of our own government by these people. And that's what we're trying to get rid of, the control over our political class by Zionism and Zionists, and however you want to call them. That's what we're calling them, because they do exceed Jews. There's not just, there are Christian Zionists and they hold office, and then not all Jews are Zionists, but Zionism probably serves, frankly, a Jewish elite. Okay, so let's be real. So that's who's on top of it. So that's how I see it. I try to tell like I see it as precisely as I can, because otherwise you're slurring and making, I think, mistakes. I try to be as careful about this, not because I'm afraid. I want to be right. That's why.
Yeah, no, it's great. How is it going? Do you has the membership increased? Do you have any prominent?
Yeah. We're taking we're all legitimate with the FEC. We take donations. We have a volunteer staff. We have we have support. We're supporting 3 candidates already. We've sent money to 3 candidates. We're doing PR for the cause of anti-Zionism in America, and we're going to continue to endorse candidates. People can volunteer. We have a community in X, an X community, and ASAPAC X community, which you can find on my own Twitter handle or X handle, as I'm at Wreck the Regime, RECTHE, the regime, Wreck the Regime. And there you'll find the community and so forth. So we're a grassroots movement. We have been getting steady donations. People believe in this. It needs to be bigger. It has to become bigger because we're fighting against forces that are incredibly wealthy. And if you want to get even in the show with these people, you have to have some money. So otherwise they just blow you out of the water or disappear you, so we're
Do you
trying
have
to
any prominent persons that have joined or backing you?
Well, yeah, there are some. Some of them I can't really mention.
Okay, that says it all, doesn't it?
Yes, they don't want to be known for that exactly.
Isn't
But
that
yes,
something? Yeah.
Yep. But we have some that have, like Jake Shields came into our meeting the other night.
Sure.
Jake
Yeah.
Shields, very, people you love or hate him. He's a very dynamic guy. He'll kick your ass if
Yeah.
So that was good. And Stu Peters has supported us.
Sure.
And but there's others that don't want to be named.
Sure, no, I understand that. And that's you have to respect people's safety. But again, I think it goes into the theories that people have, about why would we have to fear this? Why would you have to fear not supporting Israel? And I like your definition of, your anti-Zionist thing. Doesn't mean because at this point, I mean, I think we do need to look at how Israel was created and where it was created.
Yeah.
As a reason, the explanation why the hostility, but it's not that you can go back and just, take Israel. And I'm not saying we go to war against Israel and go and help the Palestinians. We need to disengage, pull the plug.
Yeah, that's totally. That's all we're saying. It's just decoupling from these people because they're dragging us through murderous rampages and bloodbaths and implicating our government and also stealing from us to do it. This is all despicable. I mean, we're being robbed to mass murder people, and we're not putting up with it anymore. I mean, we got to do something about it. This is why I did this. I guess I'm not a cynic. Maybe I'm a God's fool, but there we are. There we have it.
I got a question over here, and this Rummel says, Michael, have you talked to Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks? Seems to be on the same page. He has changed. He's very anti-Zionist. Have you talked to him?
Yes, I have. We were on a space together, and we talked at that time. I told him about the PAC, and he said that he was crowdsourcing from his audience what they were going to do. I said that our PAC is trying to unite left and right, so-called, which I find to be a ludicrous thing.
Right.
A lot of it's BS, but that we were trying to do that, and he's trying to do the same thing. So I said, let's join forces. He said it's up to the audience. So I don't know whatever happened with that, but I mean, we'll still try to talk to him. We've been trying to talk to a lot of people. It's not as easy. We're trying to make it clear that, look, this is an organization that's trying to do something that you're actually agreeing with, right? That you want to happen, you would like to see take place. So.
And we're dealing with Cenk Uygur comes from the left, and I didn't have a good impression of him before, mostly, but the left is so much better on this issue than the right. Even the squad. I love. I don't know if you know this, but Thomas Massey talks about he caucuses with the squad on questions of Israel.
Wow,
which I think is great, even though he doesn't agree with anything else on them. But
see, when you have principles, it looks odd to people that play politics with the kind of team sport mentality, and the kind of
Mhm.
they take the package that is handed to them as their beliefs, and some of them are absurdly disconnected. They give you this package. Okay, if you're one of us, you're going to like this, that, the other thing. You're going to hate this, that, the other thing.
Yeah.
They're not operating out of principle. They're operating out of a kind of sort of a team ideology, mentality, whatever you want to call it. Like you get and believe what the team says, no matter what. So.
Yeah, no, you're right. And it's so it's and you can kind of cross over into and that's why I say, and we should have probably mentioned Trump before, but I just think that the Epstein files and the Charlie Kirk assassination, these are two other issues that are in the news that are opening people's eyes about Zionism because they're both
Yeah.
closely connected. In both cases, Donald Trump, I think he took a real dark turn. I don't know what happened when he lashed out at the reporter and says, "What do you mean Epstein? What are you talking about?" I don't know how many people he lost with that, but he should have lost a lot of them. And then, trying to and the Republicans agreeing to not release the Epstein files when you have every Democrat, all the worst members of the squad, every single one of them voted to release that. What are the Republicans doing? Why did they think that's an issue that's going to get them support?
Unbelievable. So then they got, I mean, whether you believe the elections numbers or whatever, but anyway, the reports are that there was a bloodbath, in these last elections. I mean, the Democrats just wiped the floor with them, and they don't know why. These people they have their head so far up Israel's arse that they can't see the writing on the wall.
Yeah, no, they do, and it should be so obvious. And then you have the Charlie Kirk thing. I think that has stepped it up another notch because,
Yes.
and this is where you get into Candace Owens, especially who, again, people think she's done some really good journalism on this
Yeah.
and on the president of France. Whatever the hell is that? I mean, she did. I don't know if it matters, but it tells you something. But that was journalism. She's a real journalist. She has, published Charlie Kirk's last text or the
Yeah.
night before, where he very clearly said he was. So that doesn't mean that Israel killed him, but if I'm investigating the case,
Of course,
I'm
that's
going to
going
look
to
and
be
say,
one of your leads. I mean, and the
yeah,
guy said also that he was afraid they would kill him.
yes,
So, I mean, if
yes,
you're an investigator, you
yeah,
don't have to be some Sherlock Holmes here to start with the fact that, well, he thought who was going to kill him? I mean, I think that would
yeah.
be a first lead you'd go down.
I would think, wouldn't you?
That's
But
unbelievable.
instead you have, Kash Patel, calling people that question it anarchists. He actually questioned anybody. Oh, it's like, okay. So
Okay,
he's
guilty
sounding
is
like J.
charged.
Rover.
Guilty
Yeah,
is charged. What? Yeah.
yeah,
Guilty is charged. What the
yeah,
hell are you? Yeah. What are you hiding? Okay.
yeah, exactly. And so this why it's so disappointing that you had, we could have got that from any FBI director, any president, but you're saying the Epstein list doesn't exist and all that. And I think all this is kind of happening at the same time with Trump bombing Iran right about the same time as he was lashing out at the reporter. So I think you're seeing a sea change. There's so many things being openly discussed on the internet, so many things I'm talking about in Substack that I never thought I felt comfortable doing, but now I do because
Yeah.
everybody's doing it. They're openly questioning
Yes,
everything
I
about
gotta
this.
say that you have your essays on this issue have been inspiring. They gave me
Appreciate that.
fortitude because they made me. You said it in such a dispassionate yet and funny way, but also just really candidly, like how you got to these thoughts and what how do you come to these conclusions? I mean, it's just. And so anyway, just to pat you on the back a bit, I really like
Right.
the way you put things because,
I
and
appreciate
then
that.
I could say that it's actually give me fortitude to do what I'm doing partly. I mean, to know that people like you who aren't just hacks and that are out there saying truth, been pursuing truth for forever, to say what you said to me tells me that it should be legitimate to talk about. Absolutely. And, to
Thanks. I
shut it
appreciate that.
down is to suggest to have to shut it down is to suggest we've okay, so we cannot criticize this class of people. They
Right.
must be the ones in charge.
That's the inescapable conclusion, isn't it? I mean, that's what, when they passed the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which I think I'm the only one asking what happened to it, but they did pass it. But
Yeah.
apparently it's not a law. But if you do that and you're worried about all these haters, these people that are accusing your tribe, your group of ruling the world, and you pass a law making it, I guess, a crime to say that, well, aren't you acknowledging it? Aren't you saying, well, yeah, we do run the world? I mean, what else do you expect
Yeah.
people to
I
believe?
mean, this is just one of the memes on the internet, of course, on X especially. It's like, okay, you said that we control the media. Okay, well, we're going to have the media destroy you for saying that. So, I mean, it's so obvious. It's like, okay, so you've proven the point,
Yeah.
and therefore we're right, and being right gets us what? Probably not a prize.
Right. Exactly. And but it just, I mean, I'm gratified that you take heart from what I'm writing, but I take heart from, these really popular people like Candace Owens and
Yeah,
Tucker Carlson, Jason Whitlock, who's a, fearless, his show is called Fearless Black podcaster. And the Hodge twins and other Black podcasters. These people, they've had David Duke on, Nick Fuentes, and they don't care. They're openly discussing this stuff,
yeah,
and I think it's refreshing. And it's so interesting to see the Ben Shapiro's and the Mark Levins and people like this that are revealing themselves as
yeah. They're
just
saying Levin's saying, "Well, you have to come through me."
yeah,
If you're, well, like this guy's like he's acting straight up like a mobster.
yes, exactly, and
Straight
that's
up
what. And so
mob.
So how are you and you're the one who supposedly is or the ADL and groups like that, they supposedly are against intolerance, and they're the
Yeah.
most intolerant people in the world. They hate more than the haters they have. It's so it's beyond ironic.
Yeah. I mean, they ought to be called the Defamation League because that's what they do. They defame people that they don't like, and they came after me after my novel came out. They said a few choice things, which were all false in the sense that they never read the book, so
Mm,
they don't even know what it says, and
yeah,
or the way that it positioned this whole Jewish question thing. It deals with the Jewish question, as it were, but it doesn't deal with it like this is like I'm going to expose you to the truth. I'm going to show you what happens to somebody when they start entertaining these thoughts,
yeah,
these ideas. That's what it's about. Yeah.
yeah. That's exactly what it is. If they if you're trying to show that people are just hopelessly bigoted and there's no rationale for this, they just hate you irrationally, then demonstrate something different. Argue the facts or whatever. If they're saying, explain why we should support Israel. Explain that all the pictures we see of Gaza, that somehow that's not from Israelis, and all the reports we get of all the citizens that have the civilians have been killed, children,
Yeah.
hospitals, schools bombed, and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, they try to do that, but it's not convincing. Obviously, or they
Right.
use human shields. It's like, well, come on, it's ridiculous. But
I mean, they
it,
they they have all these doctors who have testified to the fact that they had seen treated children been shot in the chest, head, or both.
yeah,
So I mean, sharpshooters, that kind of shot, so
yeah,
that they have been targeted just like prey. Uh,
mhm,
these kids have been shot by these snipers, in effect, and they're sniping children regularly. So then yet you're the evil one. You're the bad guy for saying it.
yeah,
So this is really they have the most incredible deflection and defense mechanisms
right,
in place, right?
yeah,
With the anti-Semitism canard and
yeah,
the Holocaust card
mhm,
and all this.
yeah,
It's like it's like the sophistry coming out of this contingent is overwhelming. I mean, they're total sophists. There's no logic underneath of what they're saying. There's not any argument on a rational basis. It's all scare tactics
Yeah.
And shaming techniques and all kinds of slurs and smears. This is how they operate to keep you from saying anything about what they're doing.
Right. And I mean, I see it in my audience, and I see it in Substack. Right? I think they're driving people to study Hitler and become fans of it. It's lots of people that love Hitler that read me. It's like, I don't know why they get that out of me, but I think it's being driven by this kind of stuff. Because saying, well, I don't know, who was the guy that used to talk about the Jews so much? Maybe there's something to him, and they're reading Mein Kampf and say it's like, I don't think look at Kanye West.
Yeah.
I mean, look
Well,
how
he's gone to confession now, had his moment of contrition.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so
yes, just today, I think it came out that earlier today, I think it feels like yesterday, but maybe it was, I think it was today, where it's there's a video out there of him supplicating himself to these two rabbis.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Saying,
Wow.
I'm so sorry for what I did. I was wrong, and I'm sorry, and I want to do right. What do I do? All this shit. Yeah, unbelievable.
How do I get my $1 billion back or whatever? Because
I think it's basically the guy's had enough. He's probably asking for mercy at this point, right? You've taken I don't know what all they've stripped from him, but quite a bit.
Yeah.
So he's basically saying, look, just don't take that, please.
Yeah.
I'll say anything now. I mean, really.
Yeah, it's so obvious when people make these kind of remarks and then they always apologize for their mistake. And well, why do people keep making them then? Obviously, there's some reason why they're saying it.
Yeah, it doesn't fly that there's. Well, interestingly, I'll just put it this way: Mark Levin said something, and actually, he's replied to me occasionally. And he said that he said to some guy, you're an anti-Semite. It's in your genes. Okay. All right. Well, I said to him, and I quote tweeting, I said, I don't think you understand the implications of what you're saying. That means that anti-Semitism is an adaptation selected for greater survivability. If it's a genetic thing, if you have it in your genes, that's because it was a positive adaptive trait. You needed that to survive, if that's what you're getting at. So, I don't think you like that much, but
well, the basic response to you.
Yeah, I mean, what was my point with that? I guess the point is that they're going to contrive anything to label you. So this is just what they do. And sometimes they do it to their own peril because, as you're pointing out, it's actually causing what they're trying to stop.
Yes, of course it is. And that's what I said. If you don't explain yourself, then you leave that out there. You see people saying things and then punished for it, penalized for it, canceled for it. Well, maybe there must be something to it. So you get more young people to check it out, especially when you've created this kind of society now where they don't have any hope.
Yeah, right.
It's right for them to say, well, maybe Hitler had a better idea. He built the Autobahn.
It's unbelievable. So yeah, there is a historical echo. I don't think it repeats, but there is an echo here, and I don't want it to go the same way. I do think I don't believe that. I think one person in a concentration camp is one too many. Okay, let's get that straight.
Of course.
I don't approve of that at all.
No, but we had them too, and as I put it, and certainly the Soviets had their gulags, and I wrote my book American Memorial. It's amazing finding out. First of all, they didn't have just Japanese; they had Germans and Italians too. They didn't get reparations, and they stole over $1 billion worth of property from these people, from Germans alone, I think, in businesses and homes, and they never gave it back. Yeah, that's us that did that. Okay, we didn't exterminate them, but It's still
Yeah.
pretty bad to be
I
doing
mean,
that. So
that is
you know,
that is not to say, so I try to be very clear. I think one person in a concentration camp is one too many.
absolutely.
I think, but they got their idea of the concentration camps from the Bolsheviks who started it.
Yep. Yep.
The Gulag system, which was,
Yep.
much more vast than the
Right.
concentration camps in Germany. It was a big Gulag
Absolutely.
archipelago. That's supposed to be.
We for some we're not sure we could go to 2 hours. We've
Oh,
gone
okay, we're
over.
done.
I mean, it's amazing. What's great with it, we have so much to talk about, Michael. Great guest, and if you go, I want to give you time to promote anything you want to promote or give out any links or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Okay, just my own website is michaelrechtenwald.com. Then I am on Substack at Rekt, REKT. Just put in Substack and Rekt, and it'll come up. And then the AZAPAC website is aza-pac.com. That's where you can support our efforts to rout out the Zionists controlling our country. Thank you.
Well, Michael Rectenwald, I really appreciate you coming on. You're a fascinating guy. Check out his writings, brilliant writer, and keep up the good work. And we can all hope that we can turn things around here. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate you coming on the show.
My pleasure. My great pleasure talking to you, Donald, my friend. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks everybody for listening to I Protest. We'll see you next week, same time. Take care.